You ever look at a list of numbers to try to understand their relationship? Take accounting information. As a percentage of the whole, how much does this account or department represent? Or what about headcount? Or maybe distribution of pay within a job or position? Or by demographics for that matter. It's hard to see relationships between raw numbers. Enter data visualizations. Or more simply, charts. Charts help us visualize numbers to see relationships and trends. A pie chart, for example, would answer the question I asked earlier. As a percentage of the whole, how much does this account or department represent? And the good news is, PeopleTools includes a chart object and chart API. And I think you'll be surprised at how easy they are to use. First though, we need some data to chart. Oh, I know. How about seeing our paycheck direct deposit distribution as slices in a pie chart? So let's start with the Oracle delivered direct deposit page. The data we want to visualize is in this grid. And we want to put that pie chart below the grid. But before we start, here's what we need. Number one, we need some data. Okay, check, we have data. Number two, we need a page with a chart control bound to a derived work field. And that brings us to number three, we need a derived work record for that field for our chart. And finally, number four, we need PeopleCode to configure the chart. So this is the recipe. Number one, we need data. Number two, derived work field. Number three, chart control. And finally, four, PeopleCode with configuration. No matter where you put your chart, those are the four ingredients. And that's the focus of this episode. In this case, since we're extending an Oracle delivered page, we'll choose drop zones and event mapping. But to keep us focused, we'll skip over both of those topics. I've already configured the drop zone and event mapping. So step one is data. Let's look at direct deposit to find our data. And let's see, it is page PYIC DIRDEB FL. So into Application Designer, let's open the page. And we see it has a subpage. Let's drill into the subpage and find our grid. Okay, perfect. So we're going to use the nickname that's going to describe the account. If we look back at the page, the nickname describes the account, and then we're going to use the amount or percent column to determine how the slice of the chart. Actually, we're going to use just the amount column for the slice of the chart. And the amount column, amount in dollars. And let's see, let's copy this record and field name. We're going to need those later in our PeopleCode when we are setting our column information, the X and the Y, for the chart. You know what? We're going to need the nickname also, aren't we? So let's do this. Let's view definition, find the nickname column. Perfect, there it is. Okay, how's it spelled? Nick _ name. Oh, just like it sounds. Perfect. Okay, great. Now we have our data. So let's go on to step two. Step two is that derived work record. So let's create a new record, set the record type to derived work, and add a field. Let's insert a field. How about a field named chart? That's perfect, isn't it? I can't think of a better name for a field for a chart than the word chart. Perfect. Okay, let's save this. How about SB for soundbite and PY for payroll, DD for direct deposit, and of course, WRK for work. Great. Okay, step three is to add a chart to a page. Now again, I already created the page. I did that in advance and configured it as a drop zone. And now I just need to add a chart control. Here's the chart control in the toolbar. Let's go ahead and drag and drop that on the page. Now size, it doesn't matter. This is a fluid page. Fluid and the fluid layout determines size rather than drag and drop. So Classic would have used drag and drop to determine the size of an item, but Fluid uses the renderer, the rendering engine, the fluid rendering engine to determine size. Now this is what we want. We want this record and this field. We'll attach them to the chart control, SB, PY, DD, WRK, and the field is chart. Perfect. Okay, now step four is to use PeopleCode to configure the chart. A lot of PeopleBooks chart examples use page activate, so we'll do the same, but with event mapping. So here's our event mapping app class and package. I already created it. It's using the standard PeopleCode template. And so first thing we need is a pointer to our data. So let's see, that's going to be local row set and rs equals, well, this is page activate, so we know we're going to start with level 0, get level 0, and then we're going to, of course, get to a row. So row sets contain rows, get row 1, and rows contain row sets, right? So if we want to get to, good question. Well, we want to get to this data, but the question is, what level is this data at? That's a good question. Well, we know the name of the record. We stored that here. We have the name of the record. We need the component. Once we have the component, we can look at the component buffer. So how about another quick J control? Let's grab the component name and an app designer. Let's look at the component buffer structure. And we see oh, there it is. That's our record. That's our data record. We can see it as at scroll level 1. Awesome. So we know that as we traverse through the component buffer, we need to get to level 1. So get level 0, get row. Which row? Row 1. Why row 1? Because level 0 always only ever has just one row. So we know exactly which row we need. Okay, so then get row set, scroll, dot, what? This right here. Perfect. Okay. Okay, next step is to get a pointer to the chart. Local chart nc chart equals get chart, and then it's record.field. So it is sbpyddwrk dot chart, and then it's just a matter of setting some properties. nc chart.set data, and our data is NRS, nc chart. Okay, now we need to set the X and the Y. Which columns in PYICDDFLVW represent our X and our Y? We actually looked at that already. We're going to have nickname, and we're going to have monetary amount, or the dollars that can be aggregated, summarized, or rendered. Okay, let's think about the chart. Let's think first in terms of a bar chart. If you have a bar chart, you have bars, and you usually have a label underneath each bar describing the bar. A label, like the nickname. And now we think about which axis that is. That would be the x-axis, wouldn't it? Okay, now we have the dimension that tells us how tall are the bars. That's on the y-axis, isn't it? So we're going to put our nickname along the x and the monetary amount along the y. cchart dot set data x-axis, and let's grab the nickname field, and it's going to be nearly identical for the y-axis, just a different deposit amount, different field. Okay, one last property. Now, the chart itself, it'll render right now, but it'll render using the default chart type, and I want to change that chart type. cchart.type, the property, equals %chart type 2D pi. Save. Compiles. Perfect. It must work. Okay, let's test it out. Let's reload. Uh-oh. SBPYDD work chart not found in scroll level 0. You know what I did wrong? I forgot to save the page. Woohoo! There it is. There's our chart. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, wait, what? It's too big? It is pretty big, isn't it? This is fluid. So the chart is the size of the container. Now, if we want to shrink the chart, we need to shrink the container. But hey, that's a topic for another episode. Have you used PeopleSoft's Chart API before? If so, leave a comment to share your experiences with us. Or, here's another question. Have you integrated different data visualization libraries with PeopleSoft? For example, have you used D3 or Oracle Jet with PeopleSoft? If so, again, share your experiences in the comments. We would love to hear about it. Are you interested in learning more about other topics that we covered in this episode? Check out our website to see our latest offerings. Or, here's an idea, subscribe to our LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter feeds to receive updates every time we post a course. Or, even better, give us a call and let us help you develop a PeopleTools training strategy. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more content. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.